Hi,
Yeah.
Nanya. Welcome to Seattle. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining me today and talking about these really big topics. Everyone's talking about it, the state of AI. And what better person than to talk to you? And you're incredible. I just want to say who you are and give a little bio, but I would love for you to then introduce yourself in which department that you're in specifically so people can understand what you're talking about, what industries that you have that you're really focusing on today. But Ananya, you are a senior cloud solution architect at Microsoft, specializing in data and AI with over 10 years of experience. You have helped organizations develop AI strategies and design advanced AI solutions. You're super passionate about empowering women in STEM and frequently speak at industry events, sharing your insights on scalable and responsible AI solutions. And not only that, you are a massive mentor, you're an advisor, and you are an incredible advocate for the startup community here in Seattle. And so that's how you and I met. And so I'm so grateful for what you do for the community building and how you pay it forward to all of the engineers. You are an engineer yourself and all the engineers around us in this city, this Emerald City. Thank you so much for everything that you're putting out there.
No, thank you so much for having me. As have given a great description and an introduction to me. So yeah, I can add few pointers to that. Yes, I'm a responsible AI advocate. Because everything that we are doing for the AI industry, like developing all the AI strategy use cases, we do not talk about any of that before talking about responsible AI, right?
Yes.
What are the best security recommendations? What are the data privacy concerns out there, and how do you develop strategies around that? So, as a part of my role at Microsoft, and as you mentioned, I'm a senior cloud solution architect focusing on everything data and AI. So, I advise and I focus on the retail sector. So, the retail and consumer goods, customers. So, I help them with their data strategy, implementations of all the AI workloads, architecting AI solutions in a secure and compliant manner with the right infrastructure and networking pieces in place, and so that when these solutions go live in production, nothing is at stake, and we have complete security at our focus. So that's my day job. Other than that, as you mentioned, I'm a women mentor in the startup ecosystem, like women in data science mentor as well. And I also host events focused on AI upskilling in the greater Seattle area, because as there's a lot of discussions around AI will probably augment some of the jobs in the industry, and I definitely feel at this time, whoever is in the tech industry should focus on at least upskilling on the basics of AI and data science. So that's where I come in, because the industry is changing.
Everyone,
Yeah. Yes.
please.
Yes. The industry is kind of going through something called the AI skills gap. Like, as organizations become AI
Mm.
ready, and as we equip the business stakeholders and the C-suite executives to with the right strategies and tools and frameworks to adopt AI, and the organizations become AI ready, they're also looking to recruit all of these like AI architects, AI engineers, and
Yeah.
this new task force. And on the other hand, people also want to get themselves upskilled and learn these skills, but there's not a lot of resources available.
It's going
Absolutely.
so fast too. So it's like, how do you know it's the industry standard, the benchmark, best practices? And not only that, it's very much, how do I put it? How do you hire too? Because if it's going so fast, are you okay? If it's going so fast, how can you hire really well? How can you delegate those jobs as well? How to make sure that the infrastructure is as robust as it can be and is stackable. And then not only that, I think you mentioned about the skill gap. And the thing that comes to mind is because when we think about gap, sometimes we think in people's professional careers as kind of like junior to mid to senior kind of thing. I don't really see it like that. I'm thinking, and I want to know if you're thinking the same way. everyone has to be talking the same language at the table, whether it's in the boardroom or in a meeting. And like, if you can't have the same lexicon, like, how are you going to push forward?
No, absolutely correct. And it's not just about the hiring process. It's about, yes, you would also want to hire the right folks, but it is also about, upskilling your existing workforce and your task force, right? So everyone talking the same language and everyone having like security at the center of anything that you're doing with AI and data science, right? And AI is not new. Just this, with all the GPT models that's being launched with OpenAI, generative AI has been the buzzword since last 1.5, 2 years, and everyone is aligning to that. But AI is not new, right? I mean, it was invented in
Yeah.
1950, so it has been there for like what, 70 years now. And we have been doing a lot of work on the data science, machine learning side of the house. And often there are misconceptions, right? Like everything can be done by AI. But that is not true. Like, there are use cases that you do with AI, with your traditional machine learning, predictive analytics. And there are some use cases that you do with generative AI. So understanding what's the differences and having a knowledge approach to that, and of course upskilling is at the core of everything that we're doing, because we need to know when to adopt, where to adopt, which use cases to target. So there are all these new use cases and interesting use cases that's coming up in the industry, but we're also seeing that organizations are looking to find ways to incorporate or integrate AI with their existing workloads as well. So that's another discussion, and that's another thing to focus on.
So you said also, you're like, I love this point that you're really trying, if anyone is to take away anything, I really think it's this one focal point, because we're about to go pretty technical or pretty business org heavy. I think it's when you said to me, you know what, see, AI is mandatory. You're like, this is not a whether or we are going or whatever. Like, you can't be dancing around with this idea of should we or should we not. It's not, you can't court with AI anymore. It's here. It's mandatory. It's part of us. I would love for you to speak more about that from your point of view and your strong message on that for people to take that away, whether regardless of which, position that they're in the organization or how big their organization is, especially in enterprises too, who through business transformation, they might be early adopters, they might be late adopters, it might be in the pipeline, it might not. And if they didn't go through that first wave of digital transformation, they're still struggling to invest in that and, getting, we'll talk more about that later, about data and all that stuff. But just the idea of if you're not in the mindset culturally that you are ahead of the game and you want to be part of that game in that environment to make sure that you're at the top of the marketplace, help me understand and everyone else to understand of like why you're saying it is mandatory. Like there's no going back from here.
Yes, as you said, it's not optional anymore. And there's a lot of shift that we are seeing in the industry right now, right? And especially moving into 2025. And I also put in a LinkedIn post about it, right? Now, like AI is, not something which is experimental at this moment. Like organizations have definitely seen the value proposition of it, and there are a lot of statistics, like, and people are often, and especially business stakeholders, are often concerned about the ROI about it, right? So it said that there's a McKinsey report that says that for every $1 spent on building AI workloads, the return on investment is $3. So it's basically triple, right? And it is actually applied in every sphere of life. Like I personally use a lot of AI stuff. Like to start with the co-pilots, right? The Teams co-pilot that helps us in transcribing of our calls. If you need to translate it to a different language, for example, if you want to quickly, like you have a lot of ideas, but you want to put them in a structure, for example, right? So it's really amazing for that. If you just want to brainstorm, like discuss, have it as a buddy, right? And just want to discuss those ideas, put it into a structure. So many other things. So it's not just organizations definitely has their business goals to achieve, and they also want to be cutting edge, early adopter of technologies for that matter. So they definitely have their strategic planning and all of that in place. But even for individuals like us, right, we are using AI for our day-to-day uses, and as you start adopting these new tools and technologies, you get hooked to it, kind of, right? So then you're like, okay, I really need a, let's say, a Bing Copilot, right? you like in previously how search was, right? You search for something and you'll just get the search results, but you still have to go and read it and find out what exactly is it saying. And in today's
The
world,
human part of
get
it.
the answer. Exactly, right? You just get the answer. So you don't have to go
Yeah.
through and read the entire, like if I have a 30-page long document, right? I don't have to
Yeah.
go and read the entire thing. I can just ask a question on top of it. So it was chat with your data until last year. This year it is talk to your data, right? Or since end of last year it has been with talk to your data. So you can literally talk to your vast repository of data in your own language. Like I have tried in other languages as well, except for English. Like English, Spanish are all popular languages. Of course, those will be easy. But I've also tried in some native Indian languages and it did work. It was able to talk back to me in my mother tongue, which is Bengali, right? So that's very fascinating. And we have seen some game-changing use cases in the industry, especially call center use cases, right? Like where you need multiple people in the conversations. Like for example, if it is a travel agent use case, for example, right? So you have to tell all of your information. Like let's say, hey, I want to book my travel from Seattle to, let's say, Kolkata, which is my hometown, and then coming back from there, I also want my hotels are booked in there. So you have to, each time you don't have to tell that information to different people. And this is the age of agents, right? So different
Yes.
agents, like a flight agent and a hotel agent, can work together, pass on the information between each other, so that you don't have to be iterative, you don't have to tell your problem every time.
Disgusting. We don't want to tell our problem every single time. We all know that annoyance. It's like, I got on the phone, hey, I'm looking for this, and they're like, okay, wait, let me talk to the person who's responsible to that, and I have to tell the problem again and again. It's just a terrible CRM situation that feels like it's never ending. And I love that example too. And I just want to double click on the unbiased part of it and the mother nature tongue, that whole thing, because we, like, especially A talent people, we come from very different backgrounds, experiences, different cultures, different corporate cultures that have been embedded, a lot of different things. So instead of trying to take the time to deconstruct that, it's like how to get to that same page. And so it's like, okay, I received this, or even if it's like feedback or something like that, maybe you're like, maybe there's a knowledge gap there too, or you're not really sure where they could come from. So how do you have an unbiased or objective kind of third party almost to kind of tell you what those options may be, so that you could be better in emotional intelligence as well
No,
as
absolutely. Plus,
direction.
yeah, plus also there oftentimes there's cultural gap, right? Like a different
Yeah.
word would mean different things in different languages, and just the how you
Yeah.
speak the word might mean a completely different thing, right? So have an AI that understands all of it, and which it generally does, is great, and you just have
Yeah.
to take it, make sure that, you don't pass in, like, especially when you're using, or when you're building and architecting these enterprise level use cases, right? You have to take care
Yeah.
of PII, PHI data, like you're not passing in all of that, or
Yeah.
even if you have those, you are masking it, and you are encrypting it and decrypting it in the right way. All of your data in transit and at rest are protected and masked. So if you take care of those security and privacy considerations, it's all great. So having the right architecture is definitely key.
Okay, so then let's go into, so you're specifically in Microsoft Customer Partner Solutions. And if we were to go, like, walk me through in like this enterprise strategy and the AI and data part of it, of like, because the ecosystem is so large, we're all in it in some shape and form. And so when these large enterprises that you are working with, to help architect a solution for them to go forward, which is definitely going to have consequences, and whether that is the people or product or whatever it may be. But I think it also changes the whole partnership ecosystem as well. And so if you can help walk through, how you talk about, the reorg of the data, for example, where you kind of start with and where you're really hands-on and focused on today, and how you get to that point, and then, talking about maybe the consultation of solutions of possibly that touches on to talent and building that solution from your point of view that makes sure that it can be scalable, because your profession and what you're an expert in is really crucial, because it really does affect and impact so many, not only from the business health standpoint, but you're really impacting the direction and the compass of where employees are also going to be learning about new ways of working that they are going to have to adapt and change to the new modern times.
Yes, that's a great question, firstly. So enterprise data and AI strategy is a very complex matter, but we generally have few like templates that we follow and things, and steps that we follow. Generally, it would definitely depend upon the nature of the organization, where they are in their data, modernization journey or digital modernization journey or AI adoption journey. But typical steps, if I have to tell you, so for us to have a effective enterprise strategy that integrates data and AI, typical steps we would take is firstly, we'll start with defining the business objectives, right? So any AI initiatives that you're driving or you're planning to drive, align that with your business goals. So ensure that your AI projects or any data strategy project supports some business objectives, like let's say increasing revenues, let's say increasing operational efficiency or enhancing customer experiences, right? So anything of that sort. Now, once you define your objective, your next step would be to assess your data readiness. By data readiness, I mean data quality and also accessibility of the data. So you can start with conducting a thorough assessment of your data estate, so ensuring that it is clean, accessible, and also well structured and at one central location. This is the foundation of every AI initiative that we have. Like we call it garbage in, garbage out, right? So if your data quality is not correct, your anything that you do with your AI, and any application that you build using AI is not gonna be great. Next, have a AI roadmap or develop a AI roadmap. Have a little bit of strategic planning on that matter. Like outline what are the sequence of steps that's needed to implement this particular project, and this also involves defining some of your AI ambitions, setting what's your adoption goal, and also prioritizing use cases. Like you might have 10 use cases, right? But what's the first use case you want to start with? Like you would generally start with like some of the low hanging use cases, like which are easy to implement, and you can show ROI as well to the business.
Quick wins.
Yeah, exactly. Like quick wins.
Yeah.
And then you have your lessons out of it, and then you can replicate that across other use cases.
And also the team would feel confident too, a little bit of like, okay, we kind of get the handle of this. We kind of understand what our system is to communicate about this internally. Got it.
And so once you have that roadmap, you start with a scalable infrastructure.
Okay.
So identify your technology stack, like identify what tools you want, what platforms you want, what infrastructure do you need to deploy these AI solutions, and ensure that your infrastructure can also scale as your data grows and as your AI needs grows. Next is, as I spoke about responsible AI, right? Before starting with anything AI or anything data related as well, right? Compliance with regulations. Like we have many industry specific regulations, right? Like GDPR, HIPAA, SOC, all of those, and which are very important for maintaining trust and also avoiding legal issues, right? So
the most important thing, right? Yeah.
So that's it. And once you have figured out all of it, that's when you enable your team. Like you start with your training and development processes. So you invest in training your workforce to understand these data strategies so that they can implement those projects. And this could mean technical training, plus also fostering a culture that embraces AI, because still we see many organizations were not ready to accept the change, but as we said, it's not
that's the change management window, right? And then you have a change agent and a steering committee, and you have someone who is able to wave that flag going forward. Got it. Okay, that's where we are in that process.
Yes. And then when you start building your solution, one crucial part is measure your success. Like define what your success metrics are. Like establish some clear and quantifiable criteria to ensure and evaluate the process and also effectiveness of your project. So these are the basic steps that we start with, and this helps you in creating a robust enterprise strategy that effectively integrates data and AI and also positions your organization for long-term success and in a future which we as we foresee is definitely AI driven and AI agents driven.
Right. That's awesome. Thanks for taking me through that. And under the hood of a lot of businesses, we know that there's a lot of mismanagement or good management and all the different kind of management. So when we talk about data and data management, because you talked about security, I love talking about security. With
Yeah, I
data
know.
management, I love security. Can't get enough. So data management, a lot of people, they have certain things in place, but maybe let's say it's not the greatest way. And you're coming in and you're like, whoa, I don't know if we can implement this AI strategy yet because of XYZ. What do you do and what's your recommendation in that when it's a really hard thing for them to change that because that has been how they've been operating?
Okay, yeah, that's one of the common things that we see in the industry always and in enterprises mostly. Like the bigger the organization, often messier the data is. Uh,
Mhm.
so some of the common things that we always see is data governance, right? So
Mhm.
when it comes to the policies and procedures, not all organizations have very clear established policies and procedures for data management and which would help them with the data quality, security, and compliance. Next, it comes to data stewardship, right? So assigning roles and responsibilities for managing these data assets, that's another crucial part. As I said again, data quality, right? So, and again, to make sure that you have, good clean data, regular cleansing and validating data to maintain and ensure its accuracy and reliability is a key thing. You also need to make sure that you have seamless integration of data from various sources to provide a unified view, because often it is like we are pulling in data from different sources and you have one source of truth for the data, and unless you have a unified view of seeing every data all together, you wouldn't be able to manage those, right? And if you need to, we would do a lot of ETLs in the process, like extract the process, load the to do some data transformations, and then if there is something goes wrong, like one pipeline fails, one data engineering job fails, it's very hard to identify where is my failure if you do not have a unified view or a one-stop destination view. So that's something which is very important, and unless you have all these things in place, it's very hard to even have those AI conversations. Next is data security, as I already spoke, right? Like access controls, like you need to make sure that you have strict access controls to ensure that only authorized persons can access sensitive data.
Yeah.
Again, already touched about it, encryption, right? So encrypt data at rest and also in transit to again prevent unauthorized access. One common thing again we see in the industry is data storage and management. So like data lakes and data warehouses, I think those are the most commonly used ways for storing raw data, for structured data, to support some of the analytics and reporting purposes, and also always have a backup and recovery strategy in place, to prevent data loss. Next, when you have all these things done, like you have a good governance policies in place, you have good data quality, how your data storage is, management is. Next comes your data analytics, right? So you would use some BI tools or business intelligence tools to analyze data and to derive actionable insights from it. Next comes the AI and machine learning part of it, and then
Yeah. It's like we're
have
finally
met
here.
exactly when you have met finally everything, that's when you
Yeah.
can leverage AI and machine learning to discover patterns, uncover patterns, or or all the generative AI capabilities of summarizations, deriving insights, and so on and so forth.
So at what point would you be providing recommendation for a serious reorg structure in talent because of the upskill that is necessary to move forward with the AI new enterprise structure or strategy that you are recommending for them to implement?
There is not one single point I would say, because
But in those three tiers that you kind of
Yes.
laid out, when should a
Yeah.
business leader who may not be as technical, let's
Mm-hmm.
say a CEO who is really in charge
Right.
of the people management and the delegation of things, when should it be a trigger point for them? Because they should always be interviewing, but like
Mm-hmm.
when should they really find like, okay, we're getting close to this part of the roadmap. We're hitting these milestones. I'm looking at this metric. Okay, now I know that we gotta kind of really be hiring in and making some decisions and or even doing some internal promotions too to be able to have the right supervision.
So that would be across the board, but generally how the steps look like would, so when we start with a new enterprise strategy, especially as AI continues to transform industries, right? So we start with
Mhm.
an initial assessment. So start by evaluating what your organization's current AI literacy is, right? Because unless you know where my organization stands, it's very hard to predict what your next steps are, or define what your next steps are. So identify specific learning gaps and areas where AI can add the most value. Next, it could be the early stages of strategy development, right? So integrate all of these AI considerations into your strategic planning from the very beginning, right? So you know that all of this is all of your upskilling efforts is aligned to your business goals and objectives, because upskilling definitely takes money, right? It's an investment.
Yeah.
So next, when you have your AI roadmap, that's when you can develop a curriculum that caters to, again, different styles of learning, because many people might have different ways of learning, right? And levels within your organization, right? What levels do you have within your organizations, and what's the AI skill gap, if there is any, across the board, at different levels. And when it comes to tailoring or building your curriculum, it could be a mix of many things, as we commonly say, like it could be e-learnings, workshops, or collaborative learning opportunities. Like, for example, if someone is a product manager versus someone is a software engineer, the curriculums are going to be very different, right? So
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're catering to the right audience, the right resources. And the main thing that you definitely need is at your implementation phase. So that's when you would require hands-on training. So that's when you would need to plan for practical hands-on training to help your employees or to help your workforce apply these AI concepts to some of the real world scenarios or to some of the business objectives that you are looking to build. So start with some of the POC projects, pilot projects in a sandbox environment, and then of course scale from there. And in the world of AI in today, right, so many advancements are happening each day. Like, just today, Microsoft has launched, some of the great Copilot chat capabilities and M365 chat features, right? So continuous learning is a part of it. And I think this is not only applicable now, if you are in tech, continuous learning and regular updates, to make sure that your team's current skills are relevant is always going to be important and challenging. So you want to make sure that it is part of their job day-to-day activities, because that will help you and your organizations being relevant in the industry and always being cutting edge in terms of the technologies that you're building, and the solutions that you're developing to meet your businesses.
Oh my
And
gosh. That is
yeah, one
awesome.
last
I
thing.
love that part.
One last thing.
Yeah.
Before everything that you're doing with AI, as I said, ethical and responsible AI, right? So establish
Yes.
your guidelines, right? So implement some of the guidelines for responsible AI.
I love that. I feel like that was the perfect cut that needs to be sent to like every CEO. Like, there you go. Please work on that. Can we talk a little bit about, can we talk a little bit more about the responsibility and the culture part of ensuring trust, security, and transparency? Because as you know, it's really hard to find a talent for, big organizations, but they might not be at the very, very, very top. And, they're trying to make sure that they have their ducks in the row. They're trying to move really fast. But what would be your tips in ensuring that culture, besides the tangible stuff that you just talked about? But what I mean is more about the business leadership of making sure that people are great stewards of what they're working on, because the churn is high too. There's a lot of coming and going and such like that. So everyone has to still be on that same page when you want to be a rocket ship.
Correct. So, as I say, AI literacy is very important. And when we talk about anything responsible AI, and you need to build that in your company culture, right? To make sure that irrespective of any system that you're building, you should ensure ethical, transparent, and accountable AI practices, right? So, AI literacy is definitely crucial. So, you need to implement some comprehensive training programs to improve AI literacy among your workforce, among your employees, and this helps them understand the AI technologies, the potential of them, and also their limitations, right? Because every technology comes with their limitations and with their guardrails. So that's very important. Next is the concept of explainable AI. So whenever we are developing any AI models, we need to make sure that these models can explain their decisions in human understandable terms. And this, yeah, I mean, otherwise it's a black box, right? You don't really know what's happening in within the box, and because that's then
That's a great way to
important.
put it.
I know, yeah, and that helps you in building trust and also understanding how this AI, systems work. And with everything that we are doing with organizations in a tech organization, be it AI, not AI, whatever, right? I think promoting a culture of integrity is definitely the key. So encourage leaders and mid-level managers and everyone in general, right, to model ethical behavior and also ethical decision making. This sets some
Oh,
standards for rest of the organization as well. That's one.
uh-huh.
And also I feel employee empowerment, right? So empower your employees to speak up about some of the ethical concerns and provide channels for reporting issues if there is any. So that's the key. That will help your organization, staying ahead of the curve, making sure that they have, you have all the ethical guidelines, principles, transparency, explainability, trust, accountability, and at the very end of it, that is how you promote a culture of integrity.
Mm, I love that.
Big
And
word.
it's, oh, no, I love it so much
Yeah.
because I think, at the root of what you're saying is if you can communicate really well as the CEO or as a department leader, as VP, C-suite level, like whatever you are, but like if you can communicate really well in a way that with your workforce, you can have a two-way communication that allows for suggestions and feedback and concerns, or hey, I don't want to sound like I'm dumb. Can we talk through this kind of thing? If you can establish that relationship and that connection, that would just enhance it all as you're going super fast on something that everyone's learning at the same time. And so I love that you're saying that because I think it's going to really unravel a lot of other issues that
Mhm.
has nothing to do with
Yeah.
AI. But then it's like, what are we doing here, right? Like, what are we really investing in? What should we be prioritizing to make sure that the company is healthy and
Yeah.
moving forward? Okay, I love that. Oh, thank you so much for
Of
talking
course.
about that. I want to go into this last section here about startups and the startup ecosystem on specifically because you are really, you're an active participant as a mentor and an advisor in the startup ecosystem. So with your experience in being a large scale enterprise and leading the market here, a lot of vendors that you're seeing, I'm sure you're seeing it in the startup. I mean, they are working the tails off, and they are in partnership with, the big giants like Microsoft and others. And I think if there's anything that these engineers that are truly, especially technical founders, they are working really, really, really hard and they are doing everything that they can to be awesome. And they're also, there's a lot of them also in the AI market too, specifically. And so when you look at the marketplace that is connected and integrated to Microsoft, because as we know, for you to be a customer of Microsoft and you are a Microsoft house. So, for example, if it's in the healthcare side of things, or like you said, you're in the retail, so the retail side of things, how would you give some advisory to technical founders and engineers in our community today that you would provide so they can really showcase that their value is truly valuable in the marketplace and better suited and integrated with a Microsoft house that could be a parallel customer as a vendor in between, I guess.
Well, okay. So to give a little more background on my involvement in there, so we have something called the Microsoft for Startups. This is basically as you said, it's kind of a hub for the founders. We call it the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. This basically provides you free Azure credits, which can start from $5,000 and go all the way to $150,000.
Yeah.
Yes. And with all the development tools that you need and with expert guidance, and I'm one of the, advisors for the Microsoft for Startups programs, and we have tons of other resources. We have a lot of technical advisory sessions, AI tools, some co-selling opportunities as well with Microsoft. So if you are a startup founder in the AI space, or if you're an engineer, you're one of the founding engineers, let's say, of this startup. So firstly, of course, demonstrate some of the technical skills that you already have by showcasing, what your startup is, what your MVP product is. And oftentimes I have seen, startups do pivot as well. Like you start with an initial idea and then you pivot it as per the, when you do your customer discovery, if you see, okay, this is not the great fit for my customer, but if I just pivot to, this particular product or within the same technology, probably it will be, more beneficial to my customers, because customers is like, instead of developing a product and fitting it to the customer, I feel when you do the reverse, when you identify a problem and then develop the product backwards, that's when you get actual success. So always do your product market fit, and of course founder market fit, as we always say, is very
Yeah.
crucial. So try to whatever is your field, as a technical founder, whatever you are passionate about, whatever you see a problem in your industry that you're an expert in, start from there and then develop a product to solve that particular problem. So one of the key challenges that I always see is to demonstrate the business values. So clearly articulate, if someone is buying your product or investing on your product, what is the business of impact of your solution that any other organization, if it's a B2B organization, what are they gaining from out of it, what's their business impact, right? And use metrics to share some of your your value proposition. So when you have a customer centric approach, when you focus on addressing and understanding some of the specific needs and pain points of the target customers, that's where you're successful.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I'm gonna clip that and send it to every founder.
Yeah. Always.
It's hard because I like how you are, being open about the pivoting as well, because it's real, right?
Hmm.
And it's not
Yep.
like, it's not like you don't see it. So it's real.
We see it all the time. We see it all the time, and I feel successful founders
Mhm.
are the people who are open to pivoting, instead of being married to one product idea, one particular technology. Like wherever you feel is the you know like your product or service is working well, consider building on those strengths, because that's always
Yeah. Okay, I don't work for Microsoft, but I have to talk about this. I think so from your colleague who I know, I didn't know about this, but while we're here, because you're in data and analytics and you're really big on this, can you talk a little bit about Fabric? And so you knew that I was going to talk about this, because when I heard it from your colleague, it was really interesting because in the market, it was really Tableau. And so there wasn't a lot of promotional things on Fabric because it's so like B2B, but it's like Microsoft created their own Tableau basically called Fabric. And if there's just anything that you can talk about that, so that for people who are using that other version, and they're interested and they are a Microsoft house today, that's probably something that they want to inquire about, because it makes all sense. There's the Copilot AI, all the data and analytics. You want everything to kind of be in one place kind of thing, especially with security. And so, how I love security. So that's why I'm bringing it in. I don't work for Microsoft. I think it's really important to talk about it.
Yes.
Can you talk about it?
Yes. So Fabric, as we see
Uh-huh.
it, it's an end-to-end unified analytics platform, and it is designed to simplify and also enhance data management as well as analytics for organizations. So basically, Fabric is not a net new product, I would say, because it has integrated various other Microsoft products like, let's say, Azure Data Factory, Azure Synapse Analytics, Power BI, real-time intelligence into one single cohesive product. So it's basically a unification or a simplification of the analytics process. So instead of now having five different products, this is one unified platform, like your one-stop shop for all of your data and analytics leads. So it has data movement and processing within it. It has data storage, and it also has, AI capabilities integrated with it. So, and this helps, enables users to build and deploy also AI models efficiently. So you can, build customized solutions for an organization. So whether you are a data engineer, data scientist, or a business analyst, now you all can work just with this one product, and this ensures that each user has the tools that they need to perform their specific tasks. So it's kind of a it is a SaaS product, like a software as a service product, and which automatically is integrated and optimized, and users can quickly sign up and start getting their business value almost immediately. Also, it has Copilot support. Microsoft has right now Copilot into every product, and hence Fabric is not an exception. So we have some AI-driven features as well that provides intelligent suggestions, automates tasks, and of course, boosts productivity. So that's the entire Fabric story in there.
Thank you. I thank you, because when
Yeah.
I went to an artist event to support a local artist, and her spouse works at a really large gaming studio that's a Microsoft house. They're a Microsoft customer. And I was like, hey, do you know about Fabric? And he goes, no, we use Tableau. What's Fabric? And so I went like on this whole thing. I was like, what do you mean you're a Microsoft house and you guys should be using Fabric? And I was like, he goes, usually I'm on top of these things, because he's a data dude. So he's like, and I was like, what do you mean? And so I think he's probably already calling you guys up at one point. So, but I was just
Yeah.
like, wow, more people need to know about this. So, and you specialize in data and AI. So thanks so much for that very clear
That's my bread and butter. We
explanation.
have a lot of Fabric projects right now, so that takes
Yeah,
like majority of my day. So it's one of my top products right now that I speak on.
I love it. Anyanya, thank you so much for talking all of this stuff with me.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy how you're able to talk about it in such a way that you can stretch between enterprise and startup, and really just speak to engineers who are probably, there's so much going on. Like, you have to be so excited about the latest thing that's happening. And to your point, it's a learning thing. It's a growth mindset, and it should feel fun that like all these new things are happening. Even in the new releases today, it's like, hey, what is that? What are they doing? And it should just feel like, I don't know, like a new phone or something like that. It's like, oh, what's this? What's that? What's that? And that's the most fun part, I think, in tech, is just being on top of it. So thank you for being on top of it and being able to talk about this and articulate it so clearly. Many more conversations to come. Thank.
I tried to keep it as not very technical, as non-technical as possible,
Yeah.
so that most people understand.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful, because a lot of business leaders, they have to just go. So it's like, they already know what they need to do, but maybe they don't know if that was a priority or not. So
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that these kind of conversations, like, okay, we haven't been talking about this, or maybe we were, and it was a bullet point on the agenda, but we didn't actually get to it. So it kind of fell off. We have to bring it back up. And for you to say back again, I think the tagline of this whole conversation is, AI is mandatory. Get with it or get lost. Because it's just here. Like, there's no way. It's like when we had like credit cards, it's not like, it's like you're now just paying with cash anymore. It's credit cards. So it's not like cash goes away or anything. It's just like, this is just part of it. And that's the fun of technology. So thank you so much for being an high advocate of just this crazy world we live in. So
Yes, no, I am a big AI adoption advocate. Along with it, I'm a responsible AI advocate as well. So, as much as I want people to be using it for their personal productivity and for creativity, like just for brainstorming purposes, for writing, like let's say simple emails, or like in any marketing post that you want, but also make sure that you're doing it all responsibly.
Yeah, yeah. And if anyone has questions about that and want to double check, is that something that they can reach out to you about
Oh,
and
yes,
ask
of
those
course. Yeah, if you
questions?
have something, reach out to me. I think, you would have my LinkedIn by now. If not, yes, please connect with me. And then, yeah, feel free to shoot me questions, or if you want to just talk to me or discuss something.
Awesome. Anyanya, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
No, of course. Thank you so much for your time. And, you have definitely been doing, a lot of exciting things that I know about. So, definitely all the best. I know we are gonna partner more closely going forward. So, yeah, definitely look forward to that.
Awesome. Well, we just keep on giving back to the city, right? And our community and our
Yes.
love for the city. So we'll just keep on going. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And we'll do this again.
Yep. All right, then bye. Take care. And yep, see you soon.